But it's always a great day to talk hockey. Right, Dennis Beyak, let's bring him in from Kelowna, the beautiful BC interior. How you doing, Dennis?
I'm good, Rod. How are you?
Not sitting in Kelowna in the beautiful summer sun, but other than that, I'm doing great. How's the summer been, Dennis?
Well, it's had its ups and downs. We got out here after the hockey season, after I got back from Riga, Latvia from the World Championship. Got out here late June. We had a heat spell for about 7 or 8 days where it was in the mid-40s, which really got the summer off on a good note if you like heat. On a bad note, the way it dried everything out, and we haven't had rain for a long time, and then the forest fires started, and it's been a bad year for the fires. I think hectare-wise, it's been one of the biggest or worst seasons from that standpoint that they've had here in British Columbia. So add everything else that's going on in the world, it feels sometimes, to use a football term, it feels like piling on. But we've survived like everybody else has. We've managed to get through it, and hopefully better days ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, sorry to hear that, and I hope that the smoke isn't too bad in the area, and you can at least enjoy your off-season. But I'll tell you what, Dennis, a lot of things we can go down here, a lot of roads, and we will. I was just in Winnipeg 2 weeks ago doing a live show, went to the Bombers and Argos, did the show from Canada Life Center. I was stunned how quickly Winnipeg Jets fans have gotten over the sweep at the hands of the Montreal Canadiens and are looking forward to next year and a tremendous season for the Jets. Unless I've misread it, they seem to be over it, Dennis.
Well, the cure for the hangover probably came with the signing of Nate Schmidt and Brenden Dillon, or the trades for those two defensemen, because that's been an area of concern for the Winnipeg Jets. Going all the way back when Dustin Byfuglien announced his retirement, they had lost Jacob Trouba, they had lost Tyler Myers, they had lost Ben Sherratt. And all of a sudden, when you looked at everything that was lacking from the Winnipeg Jets back end, that was Dustin Byfuglien. Big time minutes, play the power play, play the penalty kill, be physical, bring some size to the back end. And all of a sudden that was gone. So it was a bit of a patchwork situation for them since then. And now it looks like that's been rectified. This defense core right now with those two additions is probably as good as there is. Maybe missing the one big stud like a Victor Hedman that some teams have. But I think when you look at the 6-7 guys that they have on the back end, that's a pretty solid D core. So I think that was probably what got the fans over the hump and made them forget about last year and very much look forward to this coming hockey season.
We talked to a lot of people, and there was very few looking back. They were all looking ahead, and that's your talent, so that probably wouldn't surprise you. But I want to also mention this, though. Forgive me for looking back, but it seemed like the Montreal-Winnipeg series changed on the Scheifele hit and the subsequent four-game suspension.
Things. Yeah, I agree. Two things. First off, I think for 5 straight days, they prepared for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs were up 3-1 in the series. It looked like it was going to be Toronto. And that game plan for the Jets was probably going to be similar to what the game plan for the Edmonton Oilers was. And then all of a sudden, it goes to Game 7. So now it's going to Game 7. Do you start preparing for Montreal? Do you still prepare for Toronto? And then all of a sudden they have basically 1 day to get ready for the Montreal Canadiens. And I think that game plan was different than what it was for the Toronto Maple Leafs, maybe away from a defensive style, and maybe we can just match the way they play. But then that would have changed in the series, maybe after the first game, maybe after the second game, but then the Scheifele hit happened. And I agree. I think it changed the series. I just think it changed the way the matchups went, changed the line combinations, and it made a huge difference for the Winnipeg Jets. And I think the Montreal Canadiens were on a bit of a roll that they got on at about Game 4 or 5 of that Toronto series and put everything together. And Montreal just went on that nice little run. And the Jets were done just as quickly as they had beaten Edmonton. They were out against Montreal. But there's no doubt the Scheifele played a big part in that.
Hockey fans don't like to move on, and I'll put myself in that group. So did you weigh in, Dennis, with your opinion on the Scheifele hit? Because here's mine. He's going Mach 3, top of the circles. He lays off the gas and literally zigged when he could have zagged. I mean, where's he going to go? And he runs into the kid, Jake, and we see what happened. I thought it was unintentional, and I just got lambasted for that. And I'm not even I am a Scheifele fan, but it's what I saw. What did you think?
Well, I think in today's game, it deserved a suspension. Whether that be 1 or 2 games, I guess was up to the league. There was such an outcry; it became the story. And as much as George Peros and his crew don't let that play a part in their decision, I do think it does play a part in the decision. I think an incident that happens on a Friday night in Columbus doesn't get treated the same way as it happens if it happens on a Saturday night or a Friday night in Winnipeg or in Toronto or in Edmonton or Calgary. I think the publicity that hit drew resulted maybe in adding one more game to it. And I don't know this for a fact. I wasn't on the call, but you wonder if Mark Scheifele's defiance of the suspension maybe didn't cost him one more game. So that's kind of my take on it. I thought 4 games was too many, but that was the end result. And that's going to have to get served and finished off in the first game next year. But as much as I felt in today's NHL, the violence of the hit deserved 1 game for sure, I was very surprised when the 4-game suspension came out.
Thanks for the answer. Love talking to you, Dennis, by the way. Loving it. We're going back to Central Division. No more Canadian Division. I could have been talked into an all-Canadian division. How about you? How did you like it for 1 year?
Well, you know what? There was other things that came into play. We didn't travel last year, so that was a different year. We did road games off a monitor at what's Canada Life Place now, or Canada Life Center now. The only difference for me, a home game, I was looking at the ice surface watching the game. A road game, I turned around and I was looking at a 52-inch monitor and calling a game off that. So I think all that played a part. I'm not sure if that tainted what a Canadian division might look like. Certainly from a Jet standpoint, it meant no games in your own time zone. Every road game, there was a time difference on that. So I do like the Central Division. I like the setup of it. I guess maybe a normal year where we traveled and did things like we used to, if indeed that ever happens again, doing things like we used to, maybe it would have been easier to make that decision. But the other thing that played a part in calling games off monitor, and some of the jerseys, from what I understand, even if you were in the building, weren't that easy to identify. And the Ottawa Senators' 3rd jersey, the red on red, is the one that I think we had like 3 Ottawa games where they wore that jersey. And it was a challenge to call off monitor, so that kind of tainted things a little bit. Certainly, I think it was exciting to have that baseball format where you played teams 2-3 times in a row. I think that was exciting, but I still like to see us go back to the Central Division.
We got some specific questions coming in for you, Dennis. Listen, I watched every game, Dennis, and I didn't notice any difference at all. Sometimes I was fooled thinking you were on the road. However, can you write a dictionary down for some of Kevin Sawyer's terms, like low event game, +1 at the blue line, blah, 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 blah. That guy is into the hockey lingo more than anybody else I've ever heard in my life. I got to get caught up with that guy.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's hockey lingo from when he was a player. And players pick up the lingo of their coach. And I would guess that when the Anaheim Ducks, where he finished up, that they went to play against an explosive team, the coach probably said, let's make this a low-event game. Let's not get into a run-and-gun game here with them. So there's all this different terminology that analysts use, and that's their reference point. Their reference point is what they were involved in when they played. And, I think we all have our own little terms, and Kevin is no different than Ray Ferraro and all the other analysts. I think they all have their terms, and depending on who their coach was at the time, but maybe we'll start a segment next year, and we'll have Kevin explain what he means by some of his terms.
Do you ever just look at him and go, I thought it was a hockey-wide thing, but you're telling me it's just a Soisy thing. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think they all have their own, and Soisy does have his own, or K Sawyer 25, as I call him, because that's part of his handle. So I won't give the rest of it because you'll get a whole bunch of hate mail or love mail. And but yeah, you know what? we spent 3 years together, and then part of a fourth when he was part of a rotation, and understands the game very well. And I noticed that right off the hop. No different than Shane Knighty and all the other guys. When we go into our meeting with the coach, and it's a broadcaster's meeting, as you have the CFL and other sports you've been involved in. When they get into some of the terminology, he knows exactly what the coach is talking about. So I think that's where a lot of that does come from, is it's terminology that the coaches that he's had over the years have used.
Moose Dupont has a question, but first, who spends more time on their hair, Shane Knighty or Kevin Sawyer?
You know what? There's days where I don't think either one of them spends a whole lot of time.
Okay.
You should see both of them. Some days at the morning skate, it looked like they comb their hair with a tree branch. But it's all part of it. I think they're in that. See, when you get older like me, you just your hair is your hair. It's gray and it's brown and it's getting grayer, and the salt is taking over from the pepper, and every day you have more face and less hair to wash. So. But that's just kind of part of getting old. But for those guys, they're in that age group where that's part of being on television. And, they both spent their fair share of time primping, if you want to use that term, for getting ready for the TV broadcast. But both, I really enjoyed working with both of them. And I'm really glad the way it's worked out for Shane in Vegas, and really glad to have Kevin aboard.
You think I'd be saying this if I didn't know how great those guys are? But I had Knighty in PA. The guy spent 3 hours in front of the mirror when he was 18 years old. So but Darren has.
I was just going to say we're going to end up blowing up Kevin because he's going to be the 2021 version of Peter Puck, right? When you do the segments on the hockey terms, we'll bring back Peter Puck in the form of Kevin Sawyer.
Yeah.
Where's the view? Glenn. He's on YouTube. He says BC Golf Guide. Oh, it's Glenn Erickson. He said, made any holes in one this summer, Dennis?
The flash of Medicine Hat now.
Yes.
Glenn was involved at the golf course here in Kelowna, West Kelowna, that I play in, Shannon Lake Golf Course. And yes, I did have a hole in one last year, and I had another one this summer. So I've had 3 all at the same course, all on different holes. And there's 2 other par 3s that I have to master yet. But it's always fun. And this last one came this summer with some friends from Winnipeg who were in, so that was kind of nice. But Glenn, I hope everything is well for you in Medicine Hat.
We got about 90 seconds, Dennis. I have the Jets finishing second in the Central this year. Is that too lofty?
No, I don't think so. Who do you have first?
Colorado.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I do think the Winnipeg Jets are a very good hockey team. If you wanted to look at an area of concern, not an area of weakness, but an area of concern, is Eric Comrie is going to get the opportunity to be the backup netminder, and can he handle that role? So, but other than that, I think this is a very solid team. They've added a few veteran guys for the bottom end of the lineup, because they lost a few veteran guys from the bottom end of the lineup. But this is a very good offensive team, and with those 2 additions that I talked about earlier, I think this is a very good defensive team. You got Connor Hellebuyck in goal, who you guys talked about earlier, and I don't think that's too lofty. I think there's going to be some expectations, not just in the city of Winnipeg and the province of Manitoba and wherever Jets fans are, and there's lots of them. I think there's going to be expectations inside that room to make some noise in the Central, make some noise in the NHL this year.
Well, you've been in Winnipeg long enough. It's obviously a very positive vibe in that town right now, and for the Jets, and I love it. Dennis, thanks for this. Enjoy the rest of the offseason.
Rod, thank you. You guys take care. Be well.
The television voice of the Winnipeg Jets, Dennis Beyak, joining us from Kelowna. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.